Hey guys, so I've been thinking a lot lately about motivation in game development. I was thinking about the last game I developed and how much trouble I had staying motivated, especially near the end of the project, and I thought I might be able to make a video about how to stay motivated while you're a game developer, because this is something that I've struggled with in the past, and maybe some of you are as well. I'm going to talk about why it's really tough to motivate yourself to finish games, and then I'm going to give some ways that I think you can improve your motivation if you're struggling with that, and get out of that writer's block or whatever you want to call it, and actually get your game finished. So you might like this video if you're thinking about making games, or you want to start making games but you can't really muster the motivation to do it, or if you've got a project that's halfway done that you just need to finish and you're kind of feeling the burn a little bit. So why game development in particular? Why is it so hard to stay motivated when you're making a video game? One of the biggest reasons is that games take a really long time to make. A lot of projects might take a year, 2 years, even 3 years. Like Stardew Valley took 7 or 8 years to make. The concept of writer's block applies here, where sometimes you're just in a mood where you just feel like you can't come up with anything creative. And when your project takes a year, 2 years, 3 years to make, chances are at some point during that development process, you're going to come across some kind of writer's block. This also happens more often with game developers, I think, because when you start a new project, you're just full of ideas and you're in this creative zone. You've got all of this stuff you want to implement, and it's so exciting and fun. And that eventually wanes like it does for any kind of creative pursuit. One of the other reasons a game developer might have motivational issues is that games are kind of difficult to conceptualize. Designing games is almost a scientific process. Every time you have a new change to the game, you're not really sure if it's fun yet until you actually do some testing, some play testing, and you put players in front of it and see how they respond. So when you're actually choosing which direction to go next, you can make informed decisions and informed guesses, but you can't really be sure if something's fun until you've tried it in front of playtesters. Jonas Tyroller has a really great video about this. Developers themselves are notoriously bad at understanding what parts of their game are fun just themselves without playtesting. It's tough to know where to go next, and that means that there's a lot of failure. You're going to try something and it's not going to work, and it's maybe not as fun as you thought it would be, and that can be discouraging. So the lack of a clear direction can contribute to some of these motivational issues that game developers run into. And even when you do know where to go and you have an idea, playtesting itself can actually be super exhausting. Playtesting can be really humbling because by putting your game in front of players, you're going to see a lot more negative feedback than you do positive feedback until your game is polished and, sorted out. This can be really difficult for solo developers who often associate their ego or their pride with the quality of the game that they're making. I actually have a video about solo developers and pride and ego and that sort of thing, so check it out over here if you're interested. But the point is, putting your game in front of playtesters and getting negative feedback or bug reports from them can be really humbling and discouraging if you're not used to it. Game developers tend to be really introverted people, myself included, and so a lot of those social skills required to do playtesting effectively, like not taking feedback so personally and digging in and asking questions, getting to the bottom of why players didn't have fun, those kind of things might not come naturally to game developers who tend to be introverts. And the last reason I came up with for why game developers might have motivational problems is that the latter half of development is so much less fun than the first half. During the first half of a game's development, you're prototyping new features, you're designing the game, you might be adding prototype visuals, iterating fast, and in the latter half, you're generally doing things like polishing, balancing, accessibility features, and things that might not be as exciting as building the world and designing the game. So this happened to me with my last game I developed. I was so excited to work on it during the first 6 months of development, and then when it came time to polish up and finish all the features, I found it so much harder to stay motivated on the project and get it finished. But I'm so glad that I finished it, because now that it's released, I have the confidence that I can finish something and move forward with my next project. Since starting on my second game, which is like a roguelike deck builder with civilization kind of elements, I've already felt so much more motivated than I did at any point during the development of my first game, and a huge piece of that is the confidence of having done something. But I'll talk more about that later. I think these are the big 4 causes of motivational issues when developing a game. Games are big and they take a long time to make. Games are hard to conceptualize when you're playtesting, and you're often going to be iterating and going back to the drawing board, which makes it feel like you're on a hamster wheel. Playtesting is really difficult and discouraging and can often make you feel bad about your game unless you have ways to deal with it, which I'll talk about soon. And as the game's development goes on, it gets less and less exciting most of the time. How do we solve these problems? How do we increase our motivation? I got a couple things. This first one is that you need to learn how to accept feedback. Showing your game to other people and getting feedback is like an integral part of the process. I think it's impossible to develop games without the help of other people. You need to put it in front of somebody to play test. You need to get their thoughts. You need to get feedback. Some ways that I've found I've gotten better at accepting feedback are I've started to learn that when someone gives me feedback about the game, it's not a reflection on me, it's a reflection on the game in its current state. So, you have to separate criticism of your game from criticism of yourself. So when someone says, I didn't have fun with this, They're not saying you're a bad developer, they're just saying I didn't have fun with this. If you want to make yourself feel better, find an indie developer you like and then go on their Wikipedia page and scroll through the list of games they've made. Chances are there's 7 or 8 games on there that have not been commercially successful. And in some cases, like with John Romero, there's like 40. And then there's Doom. When you develop something, it's not going to be a hit every single time. A criticism of a piece of work that you create is not a criticism of yourself. And so understanding that, internalizing that, is going to really help with getting feedback from players and playtesting. A great place to start with playtesting is find people you really trust, like it could be your friends or family, to try the game first, because you know there's people like you already, so it's really easy to accept criticism from them about your game. The second strategy, which I think is probably the most important one, is that you need to fall in love with the process and not the product. If you can get to the point where you'd be happy just making games and never releasing them, then you could make games forever and you wouldn't have any motivational problems, because the process itself is what you love. It's not the product you're making. One of the ways I've learned to get better at this is by posting in-progress work on my Discord, on my Twitter, or on this channel, because it's helped me think about things that I would like to share with other people about my process. Sometimes it'll be like a code-related thing or a shader-related thing. And what's important about this is you're posting stuff that's behind the scenes. So it's not final game content, but it's stuff that documents your progress of working on the game. If you can get excited about sharing your in-progress work or things that players wouldn't normally see, then you can start to learn what you like about game development and find joy in the actual process. Every game developer loves the process in one way or another, but really noticing what you love the most about game development and honing in on that thing can really help you stay motivated in the long term. The third way I think you can increase your motivation as you work on an entire game is restructure your development cycle. Try to space out your creative work on the game so that it lasts throughout the entire process instead of just all at the start and then all the polish at the end. One of the ways I've been able to do this with my current game, Terra Factoria, is by working on the core mechanics first and doing the visuals later. So I've got this unpolished demo that has all the core mechanics, and I can confirm whether they're fun and do playtesting and iteration on that. Later on, once that's all sorted, I can move on to the visuals and the effects and the particles, which are all things I really love to do, as opposed to implementing the visuals as you go on, because then you're expanding the game kind of horizontally instead of vertically. There are definitely drawbacks to structuring your development cycle like this, because if you don't work on visuals early on in the project, it's tough to put a trailer together and start building a community around your game. So a happy medium is good, I think. What really excites me about the development process for the game I'm working on is that a lot of the development is horizontal, so I'm adding new cards, new characters, and new items to the game that change as the game goes on. So I'm hoping that from now until release, there's just a constant stream of new content being added, which I can really take joy in and take pride in. And hopefully that will help make the polishing phase in the second half of development a little more exciting. So this fourth point touches a little bit on the playtesting stuff I talked about earlier, but it's really important to get comfortable showing your game to people. So game developers are often perfectionists, and I think they really take a lot of pride in the quality of the work that they do. But if you can get comfortable showing in-progress work to people, like I said earlier, you can really take away some of that edge that showing your game to somebody else might come with. And what you might find is that by showing people in-progress work and being proud of that, that might help you along in finding joy in the process instead of in the product. So the last thing you can do to increase your motivation is just finish games. This is a tough thing to argue, because essentially I'm saying that in order to finish a game, you just need to finish a game. But there's merit to the idea that finishing something gives you motivation to work on the next thing. There's a sense of encouragement you get from releasing something, having your friends play it, having your family play it, and getting good feedback from it. There's something satisfying about that might have you chasing the next big milestone, the next release. This doesn't mean you have to finish that dream project you've been working on for 6 years and it's going to take another 3 years of development or whatever. I think the best way to finish games and build your confidence and build your motivation over time is just to make really small games. Do some game jams, go make a game in a weekend with some friends. I have a full video about why you should do this right here, but the gist is that finishing games will give you motivation to finish more games, and it'll teach you about the process if you're new to it. And whether you're a beginner or an expert game developer, doing small games will help you learn a lot, whether it's the core fundamentals or new techniques and new fancy things you can do. If you're working on your first game right now, just think of it as an investment. It's probably not going to be successful. You probably don't understand the market well enough to make a successful game. You probably don't have the comfortability with your tools that you should when you're making a successful game. But for me at least, finishing my first game is what gave me the confidence to start my second one. It's like any other skill. doing it over and over makes you better and better at it. And once you start to take pride in getting better at it and improving, your motivation will go through the roof. So there's a certain level of game development that you have to do in order to reach the level where it's not hard to stay motivated anymore. And for me, that was finishing my first game, which took about a year. I've been working on my second game now for about 6 months, and I've had absolutely zero problems staying motivated working on it. Even though a lot of the times I was working on it, I was doing it just after work and on weekends. Now I'm working so much, but I don't mind it at all. It doesn't feel like work to me. It feels like something that I'm like really honed in on and really passionate about. So the big takeaways are: get comfortable receiving feedback, get comfortable showing your game online in development before it's released, showing all the cracks and all the seams, fall in love with the process, not the product. Don't associate your ego with what you're able to produce, and finish your game. I mean, that's all it takes. You just got to finish your game, and it's going to get so much easier after that. Have you run into motivational issues trying to finish games before? Are you someone who's just looking to start making games, or are you not a game developer at all? Maybe you have some other kind of passion that you're struggling with motivation in. Leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And if you made it this far, check out my game on Steam. It's called Terra Factoria. It's a roguelike deck builder with civilization kind of 4X city expansion elements. I'm having a lot of fun making it, and I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy playing it when it's out. I've got a Discord server, link in the description, if you want to check out the development and keep up to date. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.